your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody's joining the crew. We got just one ring, let we rule them all. Hope fruit remember your thoughts. Get your Uru feathers and your Middle guns. A sonic screwdriver or a sword plus one. Use Valerian steel if it will get you to count. To the pit, tank. To the pit, tank. The Rocky Mountain pit, tank.
Hi, I'm Guy,
Hi, I'm Troy.
and this is Geek Tank.
Your Alex has a sinus infection and Troy has a headache-sized podcast. Hey, Guy, what you need a problem too?
I know, right? Maybe I am the problem.
I think you are the problem.
I'm definitely the problem.
We'll have to fix you then.
well,
Well, now, so did
Anyway.
yeah.
let's see here. I was at a convention this past weekend. I was at Rocky Mountain Con,
Yeah, you were.
and it was a lovely little con. I always like Rocky Mountain Con. It's not a big convention. There's not a lot of traffic, but the people that I meet, I get time with. And that's really great. I met a couple of people who were very much the old school hardcore Trekkies from the early era, first era of Star Trek sort of thing. And just really good people. Got to chat with them. Got myself into a conglomerate. The word conglomerate just got stuck in my head and I can't get rid of it. When you have a comic book full of like 20 comic artists, instead of it being one comic artist doing one comic book, every artist 5 pages. Compilation. Thank you. Compilation. Got into that one. That was pretty cool. So that will be a thing that occurs in the future. And that's nifty. And not a big commitment either. I have to make 4 pages. That's not a big deal. So I'm not that worried. Let's see what else. It was a lovely weekend. Rocky Mountain Con usually does their convention it's a nonprofit to benefit kids, and it's called Cap for Kids. And they usually have cosplayers playing Captain America. There was a phenomenal cosplayer playing Iron Man who looked the part of Robert Downey Jr. I mean, like, really did. It wasn't him, but if you weren't paying close attention, he had the moves down. He had the arrogant demeanor. He had all of that, just like all of the things down, so that they were taking pictures of him all over the place with the other people who were cosplaying as the Avengers. So they had him at the bar. He's like reading the newspaper, He really had it down. In fact, for a minute there, I was like, did they get Robert Downey Jr. to be a guest here? And then I looked at him, and of course, he doesn't look exactly like Robert Downey Jr. He just did his hair and, shaved and everything correctly. So it clearly, but it was one of those, he could have been his stunt double. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, wow, you really have it down. It's like really good. And I was pretty impressed with that.
Yeah, Cap for Kids is an organization that actually goes to a bunch of different places. It's capforkids.org, run by a guy named Sterling Bailey, who does the Captain America costume, and I think he has a motorcycle too, and we'll go to like Children's Hospital and other places like that. So I've met him before. He's pretty cool, and I believe some of our cosplay friends actually have done some stuff with him.
Yep, Heather was there, Heather Feather, and she was Black Widow. So she's one of my kind of becoming my new. There's like a core group of us that move from convention to convention. We're all kind of connected because we're all just buddies. The real thing that it was actually kind of funny. The first time I met Heather, she was in an original series cosplay. So she was dressed in the female short skirt. And the thing about that is there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, the outfit. And you can tell by where the seams are as to whether they actually use the real uniform's pattern or whether they just decided to make it look sort of like the uniform. And a lot of the cosplay companies online will sell them in the latter form because it's hard. The way it's set up is really weird and it makes it look better, but it also is difficult. And our friend Jackie, her uniform is accurate. And so I don't usually see people who have an accurate original series uniform, and Heather has one as well. And hers is, of course, accurate. And I was like, yeah, it's a fine distinction to say that. And I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. And that's how we met. Turns out that she's like an epic Trekkie. So we just sat there and talked Trek forever. And since then, we've been getting together at every convention. And she always takes a picture of me and takes a picture of my booth and puts it out on her feed and stuff like that. And it's just really cool. She's just like a lovely human being. But she's also usually a cosplay guest at NDK. So, once I found that out, we started doing the, going out and doing the lunches with the group sort of thing. And we'd hang out when the rest of the group was like hanging out doing other things too. Because then we were the anime and Trekkie group. You know what I mean? Like Trekkies represent. Because when we're in the area where we're kind of running that anime thing, you don't usually run into the Trekkies there. So the Trekkies usually like we have to kind of covertly like link Vulcan salutes, or whatever.
Or the bullies will beat you up.
Or the bullies will beat us up.
Yep. Hey, Brent's in Florida.
Yep, because Brent's in Florida.
Are you about to get beat up by a bully? Is that what's happening?
I was going to show something because I found it the other day. This is a show and tell thing.
Hope Florida's treating you decently there, Brent.
All right.
And remember, if a alligator tries to bite you, bite them in the eyelid. Apparently, that's the way to get away from them. That's like recently just happened to a guy.
He bit an alligator.
An alligator bit a guy, dragged him into the water to get away. The guy bit the alligator right in the eyelid. So
I would think poking the alligator in the eye would be fun.
Yeah, I don't know what was going through his mind other than, as my plan is just to try to stay as far away from alligators and crocodiles as possible. And
That's sort of my thought too.
Yeah.
So speaking of interesting artifacts, one of the things I have been doing is cleaning out my house effectively.
Yeah, you've covered this, I think, is last week or the week before.
Months and months and months of photographing everything and categorizing everything and then throwing it away. Well, I found something, and I'm not going to throw this away because it's so important, but I found this.
Oh, yeah.
So this is
I remember you telling me about that.
Right, but it's a cardboard phaser, and I was actually talking about it when we were I was talking about it this weekend.
Yeah, because you couldn't get the real one. You couldn't get the real one at the time.
Right, of course not. I was what? 6th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, something like that. So we had the tech manual, and in the tech manual, they had a 1-to-1 drawing of it. So you could trace from the tech manual onto this. And actually what we did was my mom or
your mom.
Yeah, my mom had a photocopy machine. So we photocopied the page and then cut out the phaser from there and then used that as a template to make it on cardboard. And my buddy and I ran around the playground, and he was worried about getting beat up. So he didn't do it very much because he was afraid he'd get beat up. So
yeah, because cardboard phaser won't really stop a bully very well.
Right. So I was left pretty much solely to be beat up by the bullies. But I keep that now because it's sort of the core of who I am, so to speak, involved there. So you were saying you had a headache.
Yeah, I got a headache. Did you happen to look into anything more with the Escapist Because that's what I don't know if you seemed lost when Alex was saying stuff, and I figured you probably hadn't read the thing.
No.
Okay. So what he was referring to was I had texted both of you guys last week and suggested we might want to look into this thing going on at this website called The Escapist. It's I know The Escapist mainly because of this isn't the real guy's name, but he does a thing called Zero Punctuation, and his handle's Yahtzee.
Now I know what we're talking about.
And the Escapist was let me pull it up. I'm curious what his real name is now because I've forgotten it. It is Yahtzee. No, Ben. It's Ben. Yahtzee's his I was gonna say code name, but yeah, handle. So Ben Croshar. There's no R in there. Croshaw. So, but yeah, he's hilarious. His stuff is funny. And he's probably one of the main people responsible for putting the Escapist on the map. But the Escapist started firing people and giving really crappy reasons. And one of the people they had fired refused to sign the NDA, which meant he had to skip getting a severance because it was either sign this and get your severance or don't sign it and don't get your severance. But he didn't take a severance and didn't sign it because he wanted to let everybody know that the reason given for firing was not meeting goals. However, the goals were never specified in the first place, and it was basically a BS reason for firing them. And I think it was down to like the last person on staff just quit because they weren't going to work for a company like that anymore. And Yahtzee was one of them that quit, and they're going to be starting a new thing. I want to look it up here. I feel like it was called like Second Wind. See if I can find it here.
So this does bring me to a point that's fascinating in my book. So,
but yeah, Second Wind. All of them are moving over. Yeah. So the update is the departing Escapist video staff members are working on now, as it's now official that the entire video section of the staff was fired or quit down to the last person. And they're now starting up a thing called Second Wind, where many of them are going over to that to continue their work and starting their own. I'm going to start my own casino with hookers and gambling and
right.
So
that's an interesting. There's an interesting set of things, but this reminds me of a phrase that's used in Silicon Valley, and it's a good thing this is Geek Tank at Night, because they call it "fuck you money," and that's you have enough money that you aren't forced to do something by a company, and in this instance, you have people who, okay, well, you sign this NDA or else we won't give you your severance. Well, if you don't get your severance, how are you going to pay your bills next month? So I guess I have to sign the NDA. And what you've got one or two people in there who have fuck you money. And that's exactly what that is. It's I walk into this Silicon Valley company and I want this job, and they say, okay, but here are all of no, I don't want that. And I have enough money to say, fuck you, and walk away. And it's interesting how much that changes the way business operates when all people have that ability, which is one of the reasons why universal basic income is an interesting game changer to the way businesses run. And it changes the way businesses run in that employees start becoming something that a business has to court, instead of right now where it's the other way around, where the business has the buying power and can turn employees away at their whim, and don't have to treat them well, and don't have to do anything nice, and don't have to be a reasonable person. They don't have to treat their employees as humans, because the employees have no power to abandon the location. It's actually more powerful to have fuck you money than it is to have a union. And so all of these people who are trying to say that unions are too powerful and unions are, they also don't want the employees to have fuck you money, because either one of those diminishes the power of the corporation to essentially turn the thumb screws.
Well, we saw that exhibited on you firsthand through Brass Armadillo, of the I can make you dance like a monkey because you need this money to stay alive.
It's the first time that I became cognizant and aware of it was there. Because, I mean, prior to that, I had worked for relatively faceless companies, which they either had a union somewhere in their hierarchy, or they just had a good set of whatevers. But it didn't really matter, because I was making enough money to pay all of my bills and have a little bit more to buy magic cards. So I was perfectly content, which really is all I ever ask out of life, is have enough money to buy spaceships. That's all I want, but also be nice to pay all of my bills. And it's interesting because that was the first time that was openly said to me. And it was amazing because I didn't have a recourse for it. What do you say? And of course, hey, I've talked to a number of my conservative friends over the years, and their response was, well, you should have walked away. Well, except that what they didn't realize was I had been looking for a job for almost 10 months at that point in time. And money had been extraordinarily tight, and it had put a lot of stress on my wife and my relationship. Ultimately, it really caused irreparable damage to it ultimately. So I was cognizant of this, so I was taking whatever job I could take. And I think that the problem is that people don't realize that that's the perfect thumbscrew. You can get anybody to do anything. People should not be working 3 jobs.
No.
I mean, we have far more than enough resources now for everybody to work 30 hours a week and be perfectly fine. You know what I mean? Like, we have the resources, we just don't distribute them. And that's an interesting thing. But yeah, it wasn't until it actually physically happened to me that I started to be realizing of this thing. But yeah, that's what happened. So kudos to bringing us back to topic. Kudos to the employee who turned down the NDA and their severance, because therein was they had enough fuck you money.
Yeah. And
so
and they knew that there were plenty of people who didn't, that weren't going to be able to turn down the severance. So somebody had to take a stand to say, hey, here's what's going on. Yeah. So,
well, and this is how we get corporations. The problem we always have with corporations is there is a moment where a dollar value is assigned to human beings. And it happens to every corporation. Most of the time it is relatively harmless and innocent. You know what I mean? I sell widgets that release air freshener. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm going to sit there and assign a dollar amount to each one of my customers to determine how much I can charge for my air freshener distributor.
Just for the heck of it, dead body's worth $550,000 if it's in good shape.
Right.
The average price of a human dead body is more likely to fetch around $550,000. But I want to say $1 million is how much insurance companies.
Yeah, that's got to be a half. Yeah, I wish you did too, Brent. But that's
because like if somebody runs someone over, it's like they determine the cost is like $1 million is the output for reimbursement for it or something like that.
Right. Well,
but companies do a how much is this person going to make us and how much are they going to cost us?
Right. And we've had that show up over and over in history. The infamous Pinto. The reason the Pinto is such a joke.
Sorry, $10 million in Western countries and other liberal democracies estimates for the value of a statistical life typically range from 1 million to 10 million.
Yeah.
There you go. So theoretically, we're worth $1 million, but good luck collecting that.
But it's not. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so the infamous lawsuit that went down with Ford was they had discovered a flaw with the Pinto, whereby when the Pinto was struck from behind, the rear bumper would puncture the gas tank. If the conditions were correct, then that puncture would ignite a spark, provided that the gas tank was an exact precision amount of empty, because of course gasoline is not flammable if it's on a full tank.
I feel like we covered this in like the last 3 shows.
Maybe.
But go ahead.
Whatever's this. Would you like me to stop?
Oh, just do it. Just make it condensed, since I think
it would cause an explosion, thus killing the driver and likely killing the person behind him.
Mm-hmm.
They made a way out on this one, and the lawyers and the bean counters put a dollar amount on it and came up to the conclusion that it would cost more to retool than it would to just accept all of the lawsuits.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't retool. We had the same problem with the Corvair.
And then it got shut down.
Yep. We had the same problem. We've had that problem many times.
Mm-hmm.
The Tucker is a great example of this as well. A wonderful movie out there called Tucker, a Man in His Dream. If you watch that movie, you can kind of see what happened. But essentially, he had all these ideas in 1948 for making cars safer. Making safety glass, putting seat belts in. His cars had a third headlight that was in the center of the hood that turned with the wheels, so that the third headlight would be looking where you were going instead of you turning the corner and suddenly there being a tree or something like that. So, I mean, all these things, and the big three did the math and realized that in order to keep up with him, it would cost a lot of money, so they ran him out of business instead. And from 1948 through 1968, in those 20 years, the number one killers of people ages 0 to 45 was automobile accidents.
Mm-hmm.
It was more than anything on the planet for us.
And of course, now cars have adaptive headlights.
Yeah, I mean, now everything is that all these things have finally come in, but they all came in because the government finally stood in there and forced them. And it was all because of Ralph Nader's Unsafe at Any Speed, which is a book he wrote in the 60s, where he finally called out all of these things. But the important point here is companies have nothing to force them to be appropriate in society.
Mm-hmm.
And if we take away the ability to walk off the line and take away the ability to essentially tell them to fuck off, then we become complacent to effectively crimes against humanity. For 20 years, people died in car accidents, which didn't need to happen. We knew in 1948 how to save lives, and the companies chose that it was too expensive and chose a different route, and people died. On the same token, now the number one killer of people from ages 0 to 18 are now firearms. That's unpleasant, but true. Has usurped cars. It's the number one killer. So there's that. And that's for, of course, these are all U.S. statistics. These are not world statistics.
Because we're the only country that seems to not have a solution.
Right.
According to the Onion. Yep.
Oh man, the Onion.
And they do it every time.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to continue to do it every time.
And it's brutal. They're going to get to the point where they don't need to write stories anymore.
Mm-hmm.
All they do is just reprint that headline over and over and over.
Yeah, I can't remember back when I was a driving instructor what show it was, but I know one of the shows we showed, this is with Sears, back when I was with Sears, one of the things, it was either Dateline or 2020 or something, but in the whole thing, they referred back to the whole unsafe at any speed and showed a really young Ralph Nader sitting in Congress trying to tell everybody what was going on, and of course everybody ignoring him.
Yeah.
So, well, but you know who can't be ignored?
Our sponsors. Our sponsors really cannot be ignored.
They really can. Then they shouldn't be,
because our sponsors are Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, and your
mom.
You got it. Thanks, Mom.
She's got all the support.
She totally does. Good guys. Kieran Games and Geekway Homes, good people.
Yep. I believe Geekway Homes is doing a lot of stuff up there at Do-Gooders Games. I keep seeing them post. They keep posting stuff on Facebook about, hey, come hang out with me and have some hot chocolate and stuff and play games or something like that. So
yeah, it's really, really lovely. If I even so much as had the spoons, I would totally do that. Right now, I am very spoonless.
When they invent teleporters and I can just blink there, it's way more likely it's going to happen.
They have a podcast room, and I have considered the idea of saying that we should try to podcast regularly from there.
Mm-hmm.
But they are quite a ways out there.
They are. What would
They're
make
quite
more
a ways from my place, and that makes it really far from yours.
Yeah. It would make more sense for me to try to do it after dropping the kids off at school and then wrapping up like a couple of hours before school ends so I can get there and pick them up.
Might not be a bad idea to do someday.
Yeah.
Because you're up in my neighborhood. You and I could carpool.
Yeah, I'm only about 20 minutes from you then from the kids' school as opposed to the 40 minutes it usually takes.
Yeah, but the 20 minutes is also in town. So, I mean, like, you're in the same city, and the only reason it's 20 minutes is because of stoplights.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like, I don't know why, but that for some reason doesn't seem as far in my world. Like, 20 minutes, but I've got to get on the interstates is a long ways. But 20 minutes inside Arvada, and I'm like, you're right next door. Which is funny because it's a complete, like, obviously it's a misnomer.
Yeah.
I was going to, by the way, the reason I was bringing up the headache piece there was, have you tried sinus? There's headache and sinus pills.
I don't think it's a sinus thing that I have. It was a sinus thing that Alex had.
I know, but every year about this time, I have these sinus headaches. And regular aspirin does nothing to them. It has to be the sinus because it's not my nose isn't running. It's built up here. And since it's built up here in these stupid sinuses up here, it doesn't make my nose run. I can't even, because it would be obvious that
mine are right here. It's like the telepath.
Yeah.
Headache.
Oh, that's what it is Professor X is screwing with you.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just was going to give you that suggestion. If it's not going away because of aspirin, you might want to look into it. There's like I know Tylenol has them. They're, it says cold and sinus, or it says pain and sinus, or sinus pain, or I don't know, Tylenol sinus. I have no idea, but you might want to give that a try if that works. I'm saying this for you and for our viewers. Because that was something I had noticed. I don't have headaches regularly. That's not something I have. So when I have a headache, I'm a complete baby. Like, I have a little teeny headache. I will now crawl under my bed and die, because I'm a complete wuss, because I've never really been a headache person. I've never had headaches. So there's been no acclimation to it. Never really kind of gotten acclimated to it. So little headaches kill me. So these regular twice a year sinus headaches are driving me absolutely bonkers because as soon as the weather starts to shift, all of a sudden my sinuses get all screwed up, and then I have these sinus headaches as I grow older, and I'm like, ugh, hate them. So the only thing that takes them out is those Mucinex or whatever.
Interesting. There's a new
It's not a
Ghostbusters movie.
nose. There's nothing like that. So
there's a new Ghostbusters movie.
There is a new Ghostbusters movie I just saw.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a cold day in New York before I watch that movie.
It's pretty much
I'm
cold.
making a joke because it's about cold.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah. But it looks like it's a direct link from the last one with the kids.
Yeah. I still haven't seen that one.
No.
Because it's been wandering aimlessly on what's this is that I don't own, on streaming services that I don't own. I'm not sure what streaming service it's on.
What was that one? Afterlife.
Stars,
Spectrum TV, the Roku channel, Direct TV.
The Roku channel,
Voodoo. Really? Yeah.
Well,
I mean, some of these are like additional fees, but I don't know which ones. So you'll have to go look it up and see. Right. Yeah, Stars, Spectrum TV, the Roku channel, Direct TV, Row 8, Voodoo, Prime Video. So you could try Prime Video. You have an account with Prime, don't you?
Yes.
It's possibly. I'm looking to see. I can't get there from here, but in any case, you could try a few different places. It was decent.
Yeah. So.
But yeah. I know that's happening, and there's of course we're coming up on the end of the year, so there's all kinds of like the next season of stuff, like the next season of Alice in Borderland, next season of I believe Squid Games, and
I'm still behind with Alice in Borderland, with still halfway through the first part.
I was gonna say I don't think you finished season 1.
No, I haven't finished season 1, which is a bummer. I was really enjoying it. It's got the same kind of. So, I have been introducing my child to Twilight Zone. Mm-hmm. It happens to be on Paramount Channel.
Black and white.
The black and white Twilight Zone, the original Rod Serling Twilight Zone. Mm-hmm. And there are some things that are fascinating about it. They've added the little teaser, which I've never seen before. So at the end of the episode, the announcer goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rod Serling." And he walks out there and goes, "Next week, we're going to talk to a man who's in a blah, 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 blah." And he explains the next episode. I've never seen those because, of course, usually when you see Twilight Zone in reruns, they don't want to plan ahead as to what's on next week. So they've never had those. So I've never seen that part. I think that's fascinating. But I've also been introducing the kiddo to all of the very good ones.
The classic ones that everybody talks about.
Yeah. But also a couple of them that people don't necessarily talk about, but are kind of core in our science fiction and horror, because things just grew out of an episode of Twilight Zone. You know, you'll have this episode, these people will watch the episode and go, "Hey, wait a minute, what if blah," and what if there was this one thing? What if there was this other thing, kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And if they ever go watch Treehouse of Horror, there's a lot of Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors that refer back to Twilight Zone episodes.
Sure. Which makes total sense. Twilight Zone is that era of science fiction that's science fiction, science horror. Where it crosses between those two. It just sits in that Twilight Zone, if you will, between those two. It's not quite horror, but it's not quite science fiction. But the horror is the kind of horror I absolutely adore. It's the mind messing with horror, The only reason I'm bringing that up is because you were talking about Alice in Borderland, and it's the same thing. Alice in Borderland is that's my kind of horror. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's not jump scares, It's a whole bunch of, and now something bad will happen and there's nothing they can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they know it's going to happen.
And they don't know why it's happening.
Right. And you know it's going to happen and they know it's going to happen. And it's just pure horror. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't like to be startled, but I really, really love the mind screw horror. And that's the only sad part about sort of my makeup, if you will, on this one. You know what I mean? It's because I really do love that stuff. And I really don't love to be startled.
Well, luckily there's not too many startling things in the episode.
Like
there's a couple jump scares. I think the light switch got hit a little bit there. But yeah, it's the question is we just need to figure out a time that we can finish it off. But yeah, it's just good. There's definitely changes between it and the comic that I recommend both, because the online manga is gives you some more details and background stuff that they don't give you in the show, which I thought was interesting, and they change how some of the games play out in it. But the series is fun and interesting. And the thing that impressed me the most is how they just set up green screens all around the street and then recreated the
parts of Japan.
Yeah, the parts of Japan,
which should be absolutely empty and devoid of, or
packed. Yeah,
they had that famous intersection, which was absolutely empty, and I have never. I mean, you can't even go there at like 3 a.m. and find it to be empty. Mm-hmm. It's so absolutely crowded in that one intersection. Shibuya 102.
Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't remember.
It took a second. I was loading it, but it took a second. So, anyway.
Yeah, it's a cool show. Sweet Home, which has a lot of jump scares, so I don't recommend that for you, is I want to say that one was a Korean horror web series that I heard about through Nick. And then he was all excited about that Netflix was making it. But then when we saw it, he's like, yeah, they did a really bad job with this. And there's like one scene where it's like it just was badly edited because people get away and you don't know how they got away. It's just like something ended up on the cutting room floor. It's just really weird.
But, that's a shame.
Yeah. But the second one of that's coming out, and now that the actor strike is over, I don't know if you heard that or not.
Yep, we knew it was over because Captain Jerry Ryan walked away and said because they were making the joke. They're like, the strike isn't over until the captain says it's over, and so she posted, "It's over." So that's why I've been kind of making overtures about Star Trek Legacy.
Oh, okay.
Because Legacy is one of those, we love the way that Star Trek Picard Season 3 ended. And it ended with an open-ended sort of invitation of a new series that would have 7 of 9 being the captain. And we were like, we really want this. So that's why we're calling her captain now, because we're like, I mean, legitimately, Jerry Ryan, she's got the chops to be captain. And so I also really loved the concept of Jerry Ryan being captain, because she is, you know, all things, it makes the most sort of symmetrical sense in my brain. Mm-hmm. She started out her career as she was Miss Illinois. So she started out in the Miss Universe, Miss World, Miss America pageant, something like that. And that started her whole career. And then, of course, she was definitely brought on to Star Trek because of her boobs. That was the entire intention. Mm-hmm. But then turned out she actually had acting chops. She could actually do the job. And so she got in sort of in a classic style of, oh, pretty girl, we'll put pretty girl in, and then pivoted on that and became one of the most important people in the Star Trek canon, just in the entire environment. So I really love the idea of her being captain. I think that would be really, really cool, because that would add a very good symmetry to that character. So I am intentionally carrying the majority of the discussion here because I know you don't feel very well. Just so you're cognizant and aware.
You're just talking about a lot of Star Trek too.
I am.
Before Discovery, didn't they only have one female captain?
I mean,
was it just Voyager was the first one, right?
Yeah. I mean, but we've had female captains on screen. The Saratoga was a female captain in Star Trek 4.
Okay.
The USS Saratoga that got knocked out by the probe. In fact, played by an actress named Marge Sinclair, who would ultimately go on to play Geordie LaForge's mom. Side note.
Different character, I assume.
Yeah, different character. Yes, and Brent is mentioning that For All Mankind has started up its new season. I watched that episode.
Yeah, it's one of those shows. That's one of the shows you're really into.
I'm very into that show. And really, the first episode hasn't given us a lot yet, except it's got a really big question mark out there that's making us all kind of go, whoa, 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 whoa. So I'm not going to get into it because of spoilers, but we had a character in a situation at the end of last season and the beginning of this season. They're making references to that character in the past tense. And now we're like, what the hell happened? So it's like, that's a thing. So we don't know what happened. It's obviously going to be a plot point. They're obviously going to spell it out for us over the next 10 weeks, but still. Also, at the beginning of next year, January or February, we have a series coming up on Apple TV that is fascinating to me. I can't remember what the name of it, but it's about the 100th BG Heavy. So it's the 100th Battle Group Heavy. That's they're called the Bloody 100th, which was an 8th Air Force bomber squadron out of England during World War II. My grand uncle, my grandmother's brother,
your grandma,
was on Hard Stand 5 Thorpe Abbott. And so the Bloody 100th has been part of sort of my whole family's life because he was stationed there. That was his station. And there's an entire show coming up now on this. And I've only seen the beginning of it, but it definitely looks like they're going to be referencing Thorpe Abbott at some point in time. So I'll be curious. I don't know if my grandfather will be, or my grand uncle will be represented. However, I know that they picked a lot of the stuff that I have published for their reference material. So I have a bunch of stuff from him that I have been publishing to the Bloody Hundredths group so that they would have that information as part of their archive and stuff. And I also know that Thorpe Abbott is the home of the current museum. So I'm curious how this is going to roll out. So I'm very interested in this particular series that's coming up too, which is obnoxious because I was ready to get rid of Apple TV, but now I'm clearly going to have to keep it for a while. So
wah.
I know, right?
I need to remember to drop. In fact, I better open up the window now because you can't do it online through your phone, apparently. But the kids all wanted to watch Five Nights at Freddy's for the Halloween party. So to do that, we had to subscribe to, what was that, Peacock, I think it was, and the plan was just to subscribe to it and then unsubscribe from it because that's
Right.
all they wanted to watch.
Sure.
And then, of course, you can subscribe to it on your phone, but you can't unsubscribe to it on your phone because that's convenient.
Yeah, that sounds intentional.
Yep.
I hate to say this.
So
It does.
yeah, it clearly is. Clearly one of these. Make it hard for them to drop it, so maybe they just won't drop it. But yeah, there's not a ton of stuff on there that I want to see, and you can watch a lot of Peacock stuff for free anyway.
Yeah.
But they have an original show called The Continental. For those of you who are into John Wick, it's a series based off of or set around the hotel that's the famous assassin hotel in the show, in the movies. But yeah, there's just not enough on here. They have the Weird Al show, which is really not that good. But I never knew that Weird Al Yankovic had a TV show, and I see why I don't know. It's very much in the style of Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse. It was inspired by it.
Oh, there you go.
So, anyway,
I am completely confused.
you should be.
Well, I just on a whim, since you mentioned it, I went to Amazon and pulled up Ghostbusters Afterlife. And there are 2 entries. And the difference is that one of them also stars Paul Rudd.
But the one with Paul Rudd is the one you want to see.
Well, I know, but it's Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, and McKenna Grace.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one stars just Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, and McKenna Grace. They're both directed by Jason Reitman.
They sound like the same movie.
Yeah, right. And they're both from 2021. They're both PG-13, but one of them's unavailable. The other one's available to rent or buy, but one of them's completely unavailable. And I'm like, that's very strange. And I'm like, I mean, everything's probably fine with this other one, but it is kind of weird. I'm like, okay, I don't know. I got nothing, man.
Yep. All right, well, cool. I've got Peacock until the 28th of this month.
Merry Peacock.
Because I got it on the 28th of October. And so you have to buy it in month cycles. No prorating. So if there's anything you want to watch on Peacock, you need to come over to my place and do it before the 28th. As for any of you listening right now.
Yeah, all of you people. All 5 of us at your doorstep.
That's right. Just bring some pizza and something to drink and to share, and we will watch some stupid shows. Or hopefully not stupid shows.
Can always hope.
Yeah, there's just like too many services.
Yeah. So it's funny. Keep thinking about how this is exactly how I really was hoping cable would go. And then, but then it went the way that I expected. Well, the way that I should have known that it was going to do. And by that, I mean that it wandered completely off the rails, and now everybody has a streaming service. Because they're going to bring back Connections with the original fella who did it back in the days. And I love that show. And I just lost his name, but I know who he is. And as soon as I can grab his name from the ether. But Connections was
yeah, because our friend Catherine was posted about it.
Right. But it's also coming in a streaming service, a new streaming service that you'll have to pay $12 a month for.
Uh-huh.
And it's getting to the point now where if you want to watch all the things, you really need a budget of about $250 or $300 a month, which is not the way we wanted this to go.
No.
Right. I mean, like, what I wanted was not to have to pay for the NFL ticket every month. You know what I mean? Like back in the day when we had cable, I had 700 channels, of which 100 of them were sports, another 100 were in Spanish, and then like 150 of them were stuff that I would never watch. And all I really wanted was and they were all shuffled together like some random thing. And it was like, it's so, all I wanted was the ability to just say, look, I need these 25 channels. And that's it. And instead, now what we have is you can watch this TV show, but you'll have to pay $15 a month to watch this TV show. And you have to cancel and remember to resubscribe and cancel here and subscribe over there.
That's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it is to decide this is the month I'm going to watch Star Trek, and then drop Star Trek for a month and watch something else for a month. And then that's the only way to do it. Otherwise you are dumping, because you don't really have time to watch everything anyway.
No.
So yeah, I noticed that it was either Disney or HBO or one of the two. I noticed that they've snuck in a bunch of sports stuff now.
Yeah. HBO's I've got now another sports ticket thing. I'm like, I really don't care and never have. And it makes me mad that I'm ending up paying money for it. And I keep paying money to sports. And it makes me hate sports more. Like, I didn't hate sports to begin with. I still don't hate sports. But boy, I hate paying for sports.
Well, what's funny is there's people out there that are like, oh, I get all these darn Star Trek shows. I just want sports.
Right?
So they get...
and I would be happy to trade them.
Yep. That's what when people buy starter boxes for Warhammer or Warhammer 40K, it's usually I want the Space Marines. Somebody buy the orcs from me. So you just split the cost of the box and just split the box with somebody. Because most people don't want two armies; they just want their one army. So
well, and that's what we're effectively doing. I'm getting one, you're getting another, and we're sharing the system. And then all of a sudden, now everybody's like, "Whoa, you can't do that."
Yeah,
and they're locking that down.
Well, it's going to be. I mean, the next step that they'll do is they'll start doing something where there'll be a fee incurred if you cancel. You got to be like, per month is $20, but if you consecutively get it per month, then it drops to this price. But if you drop it and then pick it up again, it jumps back up to this price. Yeah, Brent wants all the armies. There's not enough storage space for all the armies.
He doesn't have enough money space for all the armies.
I mean, we're only Nick and I have been playing, and we're only getting about 20 to 40 figures on the table at a time anyway, because we're still trying to learn the rules, and we don't want to overload ourselves with too much stuff.
Right.
Oh, but he's having fun, so it's cool to be doing something that's not just a computer game.
Right, and it's no complaint at all on that one. I think it's interesting. I've kind of moved to a world now where the kid and I are watching all of my TV shows that I've always wanted to movies, TV shows, all the things, because the household's sort of spirit is changing over to more TV, movies, stuff like that. So it has helped in that manner, and I feel a little bit more like myself again. You know what I mean? Like that. I didn't realize that was a part of me that wasn't around, but I really like watching TV. I like watching TV and doing something else. I really
it's a method of storytelling that appeals to both of us because it's both audio and visual.
Yeah. Well, I know that's always been one of the connections you and I have always had in our friendship. Is we like to sit down and watch movies together, and sometimes we sit down and watch movies together and work on minis. And you know what I mean? Like
Nick's old enough now; he wants to watch The Boys and not Indestructible, Invincible. And I told him, well, you're old enough to do it. We can do it. And there's a whole new series too. I don't know if you knew this. Gen 5.
Yep.
It's set in the Boys universe. And I really think you're going to dig it because the main character's female.
Yep. I've seen the previews for it.
Okay.
And I like it. I'm interested.
Yeah. But there's enough to it that if Nick's going to watch it, he does need to watch The Boys first because there's enough storyline stuff that I think that's a little bit spoilery if you don't watch The Boys first.
It's fair.
So
that's fair.
In any case, we Coming up 3 minutes away from time.
Yep. Well, we might bomb out a little early. I think we've run out of steam, and I'm going to go ahead and roll up the other show here in a second.
Your other thing. Brent's like, no, I want my last 3 minutes.
He wants all the armies.
He wants all the armies. I don't think I can name all the armies. Especially because like the Marine chapters alone have like 10 to 30 different Marine chapters. So
right. Yep.
Let's just double checking here. Cool. Looks like this Friday nothing's going to interfere with us watching Star Trek. And you said the next one's the musical one, so cool.
Yep, we're about to abuse our poor friend Kevin because he's been dreading it. It's not bad, but he's been dreading it.
Oh yeah, midnight. Yep, got to get that beauty sleep.
Yep. Yippers.
Right. Cool. Oh, I know what I was checking. I was checking to see if there's any conflicts for next Monday. No, that's just that's when Thanksgiving break starts.
Right. So all the conflicts will be that I'll be working, but not anything.
Yeah, but not at 9 o'clock at night.
Right. Well, I'm going to go on ahead and recommend bow out.
Yeah, go ahead and tool up your thing.
Okay.
We will say goodbye to Brent and
bye, Brent. I don't know if I'll see you on the other side, but I'll see you on the other side. If not,
he said he's going to sleep because it's midnight.
Yeah, probably. So that's okay.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. That's all the time we have for today.
Ivan Troy.
And this is Geek Tank.